Macca's Guides.
Hey, what's up guys, Macca here, playing Resident Evil 7. This is the 100% full game collectibles guide for the easy and normal difficulty, including all 18 antique coins, all 32 files, and all 20 of the Mr. Everywhere dolls. Additionally, I'll be showing you all 4 of the tape locations. So you can start off by grabbing your first file as soon as you start the game by looking in your inventory and reading the email from Mia. Then once you make your way inside the house, go upstairs and pick up the VHS tape and put it into the TV downstairs. There's actually going to be something we need to do during this VHS tape in order to get our next collectible, so pay attention. After putting in the tape, you'll assume the position of the cameraman working with the investigation crew. At your feet, you should find a lockpick. Then, follow them inside of the house and unlock the locked cabinet drawer on the right side of the room. Then you can either complete the tape or just end it early.
After you. So, why are we in hell this time? Do you ever prep? What's the prep? Shitty house, spooky sounds? Ooh, is it haunted? Fuck. I was an anchor, you know?
Can't sub, Pete. Not anchor.
What's that?
Once you complete the tape and end up back in the house, go to that same drawer which you'll now be able to open and find an antique coin inside. This is actually the most complicated and confusing one. For the most part, everything from here on out is much easier. After making your way into the basement and finding the cell, go to the table next to the cell and find a document. Read both sides for files number 2 and 3. After regaining control of your character, this time in the main house, stand up from the table and find a home improvement store receipt on the cabinet in front of you. Then look to the right hand side and find a newspaper article on the desk. After finding the hatch key and then opening the hatch to go under the house, you'll be able to easily come across a second antique coin. After meeting with the police officer, you'll be given a knife. Go into the save room and make sure to use the knife on the Mr. Everywhere doll underneath the cassette. Next, exit this room and run to the very end of the hall to find another Mr. Everywhere doll. After opening the door into the main area of the main house, we can rattle off a whole bunch of collectibles. As soon as you enter to your left, find a Mr. Everywhere doll. In the cabinet to the right of this doll, you can find an antique coin in the drawer. Behind this antique coin is a file. It's a newspaper article and it can be found on the desk. Next, we're going to go upstairs into the large room and find a couple of collectibles. Once inside of the room, if we go from left to right, go inside and go behind the bar in order to find file number 7, Jack's Memo. From the memo, we can go clockwise around the room and find Jack's journal on a table. Next to the journal, we can also find an antique coin on a small dresser. Next to that antique coin, we can find a Mr. Everywhere doll. Also in this room, we can find the second tape in the game. This one is called Mia, on the bar, and you'll find the VHS player right next to it. From this room, we're going to run to the bathroom and find an antique coin inside of the toilet. After solving the shadow puzzle, you'll enter this room and you can find Mr. Everywhere doll number 5 on the door frame of the crow door. You can't go inside here until you get the crow key much later on in the game. In the next room, you can find an antique coin inside of an ashtray on the table. From the antique coin, we're going to follow the hallway until we find a save room. Inside of the save room, there is a cabinet with a drawer. Open the drawer in order to find a note, which is going to be Travis's memo. Make sure you read the front of the memo for one file and the back of the memo for another file. We're now going to make our way into the basement of the main house using the staircase right next to the save room. Go into the incinerator room and read the memo on the wall. From the incinerator room memo, we can find antique coin number 7 by following down the hallway, opening the green door, and inspecting the wall on the left as we enter. From this antique coin, we can continue past this dissection room where we'll find our scorpion key and go down the stairs to find Mr. Everywhere doll number 6 tucked away behind some items on the right hand side. Take your newly acquired scorpion key and go back to the pool room upstairs, opening the door. Inside, you'll find 2 files, files number 12 and 13. One's memo about relief on the desk, and another one is a doctor's letter on another desk. After finding all 3 of the dog heads and escaping the main house, you'll enter the yard. Go down the stairs and to the right, looping around into a small garden to find antique coin number 8. From there, make your way towards the trailer and find Mr. Everywhere number 7 underneath the staircase. Go inside of the trailer and find your next antique coin on the desk. Next to the antique coin, you can find Zoe's investigation notes on the wall. Next up, we're entering the old house, and these can be acquired in a variety of orders. But as soon as you enter, go to the right-hand side and then shoot out both of the nests and go into the fireplace. Notice a Mr. Everywhere doll as you enter on the left-hand side. Down the stairs along the same side of the hallway, you can also find your next antique coin. After making some progress, you'll notice that there will be a crow door that you can't get through, but you can find a file on the right-hand side of that door. From the crow door, you have to go get the crank, which is found inside of a small hatch in the back here. On your way to the crank, you should be able to spot a Mr. Everywhere doll along the left-hand side. Alongside of the back of the house, outside, you should find a small save room, and inside of this room, on the left-hand side, find the 10th Mr. Everywhere. In the other outside section of the old house, use the crank in order to gain access to the small outhouse. Inside of this outhouse, you can find your next antique coin. After using the crow key to get into the door, you can find Serum documentation inside of the briefcase in front of you.
What the?
From this small briefcase, continue forward down the hall and go into the first room available in order to find the next file, Marguerite's notebook. From the notebook, continue down the hall and you should be able to easily spot Mr. Everywhere number 11 on the desk. From this desk, you can look into the cabinet drawer on the right-hand side in the corner of the room to find antique coin number 12. Later on in the story, you'll end up back in the yard and you'll be told to go inside of the trailer. Look inside the fridge to find the severed head and read the note on the back. After acquiring the snake key, you can now go back into the main house and go into the kids' room where you can find file number 19, Luca's journal, as you enter the room on the left. Then, across the room on the other side, find file number 20, torn page from journal. Next up, what you'll need to do is activate the switch inside of the lamp to activate the ladder inside of the room. At the top of the ladder, inside of a cabinet, you can find tape number 3 called Happy Birthday. This tape has its own achievement tied to it and can be played inside of the VHS player in the pool room next door. From this tape, turn around and spot Mr. Everywhere number 12 on the sill above the ladder. Use your snake key in order to go into the other snake door, and you should be able to find a note on a clock on a bedside table at the back of the room. Much later on, we'll be in the testing area, and we'll be introduced to the new mechanic of traps. Watch out for the trap, but at the end of the hallway, there is a door. Go inside to find more traps, and at the back, you'll also find a green workbench. Inside of the workbench, you can find antique coin number 13. Moving on from the antique coin, in the next room, you can find a Mr. Everywhere number 13 in the top left of the area on top of some woodwork. You'll eventually come to a room in the testing area where there is a burnt corpse directly in front of you. Read the note on it in order to get the password to the door. Turn around from this burnt corpse and find antique coin number 14 on the small ledge. After using an explosive to get a new entrance, go through and turn into the room. You'll be able to use your item box here in order to regain all of your weapons, so pick up a gun. Then go through the door directly in front of you and turn around and look above it in order to shoot out Mr. Everywhere number 14. We are now on the way to the boathouse, as you'll see if you bring up the map, and there's a small split in the road. Make sure you take the right path and find this small outhouse where there is a Mr. Everywhere. We are now on the wrecked ship and having a small flashback. After the flashback is done, we can go through this small hatch, and we should be able to find our antique coin after a few turns. You'll next come to the section where you use an outdoor staircase and go upstairs, and then find a ladder directly in front of you after going through a door. After you drop down from the new platform, you'll be able to find an antique coin in the water. Shortly after the previous collectible, you'll go upstairs and have this small interaction with Evie. After she runs away, go to the right-hand side, continue along the hall in order to find a room. Inside of that room, you can find file number 23, Giovanni's Will. You can also use this room to get around some of the bad guys. From the previous collectible, go through the door and find the next file on a desk. As a part of the story, you'll reach the highest floor of the ship, and then you'll be introduced into the fourth tape called Old Videotape.
You need to remember, so we can be a family.
During the VHS, at the very beginning, turn 90 degrees to your left and find the orders file on the desk. This is the only one inside of the tape. Directly after finishing the tape, this will happen, and then you'll be able to find Mr. Everywhere number 16, which will require you to have at least one bullet in your gun or a remote bomb. If you don't have any ammo in your gun, make sure that you pick up the remote bomb inside of this area of the ship after getting off the computer. Then go to the collectible and blow it up. After that, you'll go across the area to the other hall and find the lug nut in order to get into the elevator shaft and through the elevator. So do that, and then once inside the elevator, find the mechanic's memo. After reading the memo inside of the elevator, climb out so that you're on the second floor. Turn left and continue along the path all the way to the very end of the hall. You will need bullets in your gun, and if you don't have any, you can find some ingredients in the room that I just passed by in order to combine stuff to create your own bullets for a handgun. After you get into the room at the very end of the hall, climb the ladder, equip some bullets in your gun, and then find the Mr. Everywhere doll. It is also crucial that you pick up the lock key at the top of the ladder. We will need this lockpick later on. After shooting the Mr. Everywhere and taking the lockpick, go back to the elevator and climb out the roof in order to get onto the 3rd floor. Take a left turn as you get on the 3rd floor, and there will be an object on the ground which you can read for file number 27, Tattered Secret Document. From here, go into the next room and lockpick the small worker's box on the table in order to find the antique coin. Again, we found that lockpick 2 collectibles ago at the top of the ladder when we shot the Mr. Everywhere. Next, we're ready to fix the elevator and go downstairs. Before we do, make sure you get the 3 corrosive bottles that are located inside of the little safe that's activated with the 3 painting puzzle. You'll need all 3 of them in order to have enough left over to get the coin, and you will require one of them in order to complete all of the stuff you'll need in order to fix the elevator, so the power cable and the fuse. You can find the fuse on the 1st floor, and I believe you can find the power cable on the 4th or 3rd floor. After fixing the elevator and taking it to the S2 floor, you'll run through a couple of enemies and eventually end up in a hallway. I'll show you on the map exactly what you're looking for. Once you end up in this area, you'll need to use one of the corrosive bottles that we picked up in the previous clip to open up this panel and find the last antique coin inside. If you're playing on normal or easy, this will be your last antique coin, 18 out of 18, and you'll unlock your achievement or trophy. Next up, a little bit later on in the game, we'll reach the swamp. Once you get inside of the swamp, use the item box in order to recover one of your guns, and then shoot the Mr. Everywhere on the side of this little boathouse swamp thing. We've now entered a salt mine, and you'll see a staircase with a small kind of bridge going over, and you can shoot out Mr. Everywhere number 19 by going under that bridge and then shooting him next to the barrels. Next, you'll enter the room at the top of the stairs we were just at and find an email log on the computer. Then an infection report in the next room, as well as R&D report 1 of 2, R&D report 2 of 2, and the neurotoxin report, or the document. You can find all of these in these last few rooms. This room will also contain the final file if you've been following along, getting all 32 and unlocking your achievement or trophy. Last but not least, our final collectible can be found as we exit the salt mine and then gain access back into the guest house. We're in the basement of the guest house in case you're unfamiliar. Go around the column and find Mr. Everywhere number 20 on the shelf unit, unlocking your final collectible related achievement for easy and normal difficulties. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, drop me a like. Feel free to share the video with a friend if you think they could use the help. Special shout out to Drop Dead Artemis for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace.